Let's be honest, AI content sucks ass. But the thing is, it doesn't have to. You just have to know how to use it properly. Which is why in this video, I'm going to share my complete AI writing course that's normally $400 totally for free. And just so you know that this information is legit, let me introduce myself real quick. Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Daines-Hutt. I'm a marketing nerd and I run a blog called Amp My Content where I share marketing guides and tutorials. I've been referenced or shared by companies like Ahrefs and Backlinko, as well as by huge marketing juggernauts like Neil Patel, Ryan Deiss, Molly Pittman, Glenn Alsop, and more. I've been writing content online for about 12 years now. I'm the head of content for a software training platform that I've helped grow to over 1 million customers. My articles have been read by about 6 million people so far, and the process in the course I'm about to share with you allows me to still write content for my clients at the same volume, but it saves me around 210 hours a year. So that's about 5.5 weeks that I get back that was previously spent writing and editing that I can use for other tasks or to just chill out. Not bad, right? You can find all the assets mentioned in the course below this video so you can follow along and use this for yourself. So let's get into it and you can have a laugh at me back when I had bleach blonde hair. Welcome and thanks for joining Future Proof Content. This course is the exact same process I use every day to create content for both myself and my clients. It's 11 years of content marketing expertise and around 2 years of nerding out hard with AI.
Nerd?
So let's cover a few things up top. What this course is and isn't. The goal of this course is not to click a button and have an article done for you. The reason for this is that the AI isn't that smart and this content is often garbage. Not only that, but the AI tends to write pretty much the same thing every time and it's pointless to have useless copycat content. Instead, we're going to be replicating how a professional content marketer works from start to finish, but we'll also improve those processes by using AI as an assistant to help streamline our writing and get past a lot of major roadblocks that people struggle with. This way we end up with content that is our own tone of voice, it's our personal ideas and insights, and it can not only convert but get traffic and make sales, but more importantly, pass any Google plagiarism issues because it's unique. There's no hacks here, it's just better processes for a faster, higher quality output. In fact, I think you're going to be shocked at how customized and improved the content can be when you follow this system. Before then though, I just want to cover a few things in advance so that everyone's on the same page and you have everything you need to succeed. To help you see how this training works, I went ahead and I wrote a brand new blog post from start to finish using the course as an example that you can follow along with. I'll walk through how I'm writing it during each of the steps in these videos so you can see me putting all of this into action. However, videos are great, but to help you out even further, I've also gone ahead and saved copies of the article at key points in the writing process. So this way you can examine what I've done if you want more clarity. So then you can watch the edits and see what I'm doing and how to do it for yourself and then open up the latest version of the article at that point in the process. You'll find each of these assets on each of the specific lessons directly below the video and above the text section. With that out of the way, let's get into the course content and share how this works. So we need to understand LLMs and how they work. AI tools are always changing. The good news is the process I'm about to share with you is designed in a way that when new versions come out, we can add to our process and make it even easier over time. Rather than using a specialized and expensive AI writing tool, we're just going to be using ChatGPT 5.0. The main reasons we use GPT-5 is that it has internet access and system prompt functions. This overcomes a few flaws that most people struggle with when it comes to AI content. First of all, the older versions of ChatGPT were trained on information from years ago and had no access to new information, whereas 5.0 can access the net and find the latest data. While the core system prompts allow us to give the tool a prompt that will affect the quality of our answers. However, you need to be aware that even though these tools are pretty amazing and they're improving all the time, they're not perfect. So I've added steps inside of the lessons at each step of the process where relevant so that you can get around most of these issues. But just so you're aware, the best way to think of these tools is they're not really AI. It's not actually a valid classification. They're actually pattern recognition machines. The more data they get, the smarter they seem as they start to connect the dots between things. I prefer to think of it as an intern or an assistant out of college. You can ask the tool or the intern to find you things and it will do it happily and quickly to the best of its abilities. However, just like with an intern, I'd probably double check the important information just in case. This is fine because it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. It just needs to help us cut down on a lot of the time sink work. Speaking of which, let's look at how a professional writer works. So most beginner writers struggle for different reasons. They either don't know what to write about, or they go off topic and go off on tangents, or they try to write out the article perfectly in one go on a blank page. It's insane and it stops so many people from getting things done. Intros and conclusions are so important, but they're so hard to write, so trying to come up with the perfect one before you even start writing can derail your entire writing process, and then you forget about the actual content you want to cover. Pros get around all of these issues by using writing systems. We have an article topic, obviously, before we start. We research our audience so we know what the intent is. What are they searching for in that topic? What do they want to know? This way we can make sure we cover the right things and that the article is about what they want to read. We make notes of what we want to cover to meet that intent, and we research deeper to make sure we're not missing anything. That way we can write the best article on the topic. We organize those notes into a typical article structure, making sure to organize them into a logical sequence. So we cover the first topic, then the second, then the third, and so on. Only now that we have our ideas and research organized do we start to write a rough first draft. Even then, we don't try and make it perfect. We just write placeholder headlines, placeholder introductions, placeholder conclusions. We write out the bulk of the body of the content first so that we can get something that's good enough and can improve. Then we can start to polish and refine, improving the layout and formatting, adding imagery, context, filling out missing details, etc. Only after we've done all of this do we then go back and improve the introduction and the outro. No joke, but the bulk of writing is getting an okay first draft and then later editing it into something awesome. The good news is that around 80% of what I just talked about can now be streamlined and improved with AI. We just have to tweak the process slightly so that we do all the AI work up front and then some simple manual editing to finish up. Now, don't worry if this all seems complex or if you've not written much content before. Thanks to this process, it's all fairly simple. However, the best way to learn is by doing, which is why I recommend you follow along with each lesson and write an article alongside me while you watch the course. It doesn't matter what the article is about, and you don't even need to publish it if you don't want to, but you'll learn so much faster and easier by doing, so give this a go. Pick an article on a topic that you like and want to talk about, and then hit continue below to get started. Alright, how to set up the tools. So, first thing you want to do is going to click on this link, and it's going to open up ChatGPT. To do all the stuff that we're going to do in this course, you need a GPT Plus paid account. This is because you need to access GPT-4 to basically access the internet and secure your information and not get usage limits. There's currently two pricing options. $20 a month is the personal account, $25 is the business account. The only real difference between these is the business account has a higher level of security, back-end security and things like that. Because of this, it meets like certain regulation laws. So if you're going to use the tool to put in customer information or something like that, you are secure and safe. If there was a breach, you wouldn't be liable for it. The business account also has a higher usage limit, but it's mainly for people who are using the tool to perform a lot of tasks. So you can use ChatGPT on the back end of certain stuff as an API. In fact, a lot of the content writing tools that you might use instead, they're just it's just code on the front to look like something else, but it's still connected to ChatGPT. And then the business account also allows you to add in additional team members. I use the $20 version for hours every day, and I never need anything else. So the choice is yours. Honestly, I think you're probably fine with the $20 version. So you want to set up a profile and add your card details. Then you want to head across to the dashboard and make sure to select the ChatGPT 4.0 version. It'll say best for complex tasks. So once you've created the account, things like that, you're going to come over here and you're going to click this top one. As things change and they create new versions, I'll update the videos, but you're always going to want the best one that can access the internet, basically. So once you've done that, you want to go ahead and click on your profile picture and select Customize ChatGPT from the drop-down menu. As we go through the course, I'm going to share some specific prompts with you for you to feed into the tool. Those prompts are always going to be in purple text, as you'll see in a second. However, these first two prompts that I'm going to give you, they don't go into the normal section, so they don't go into the message bit here. Instead, they're going to go into this section here where it says Customize ChatGPT. And then you've got this section that says, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? And how would you like ChatGPT to respond? First of all, these are probably empty on yours. Make sure you have these ticked. Make sure this is ticked. Once you are in here, scroll down, and all I want you to do is just highlight, right-click, copy, and then you go into here, and then you're just going to right-click, paste. And then do that for the second section, and put that in how would you like ChatGPT to respond. The reason being, they're core system prompts, so basically now whenever it answers a question or we ask it anything, it's going to take this into consideration and it's going to give us much better output, and it's going to do it in a way that seems more authentic for writing. So once you've done that and you've got those in there, click save, and then just hit continue, and we'll get into the next lesson. All right, so time to start our writing process. I'm going to assume you already have an article idea of what you want to write. Before we put pen to paper or anything like that, the first steps are research, planning, and organization. If you remember earlier, I said that professional writers, they never start from a blank page because it's so much harder to do. We do research in advance so that we can get ideas, and we make notes before we write. So what I want you to do is go ahead and open up a blank Google Doc so that you can work from it and add notes to it, like this. Then I want you to go into Google and just search for your article topic. So my article is going to be about how to improve WordPress site speed. It's just an article I'm writing at the moment. When you put that into Google, it's going to give you the top ranking articles, of course. What I want you to do is open up the top 3 in separate tabs. Then we're going to do something else. So the articles that rank are not always up to date. They kind of get links over time. They get to the very top of Google, but they could be out of date. It's a bit of a flawed system. So what we also want to do is we want to change our search parameters and check out the top 3 posts in the last month just to see if anything new has happened. So you can do this by scrolling up to the top of Google. You click on Tools, and then it'll give you these things, any duration, time, result. Click on any time, past month. Then it's going to show you topics. It's going to show you the articles that rank for that topic in the past month. Assuming they are different URLs to what you already have open, because sometimes you never know, like a post might rank straight away, and so it was only in the last month, but it's also in the top 3. Assuming they are different, open up 3 of those as well. So let's have a look. So I'm in Google. So how to improve WordPress site speed. So what I would do is I would open up this link in a new tab. I can see the ones that I've already clicked as well because they're in purple. And when I come back up, I go into Tools, Time, Past Month. So the WP Rocket one, I've already clicked on these before when I wrote the article. Okay. So what we're going to do is, now that we've got those open, now we've got those open, we're going to go through them one by one and make notes of what you want to cover from each of them in your Google Doc. So basically, you're looking through all the content that the topics that you should cover in your article. You know, how you think you should frame it, what it should or shouldn't cover. You're just making notes about it now so that you can plan it and actually write it easier, so you're not writing from a blank page. Also, by seeing what ranks, you're trying to see what the reader wants and also what Google is rewarding. So I've already done this research, but I read through all of these, like why should you speed up your WordPress? Okay, that's a good thing. These are all different ways that you can speed it up. Lots of different things that these guys are covering. I like this one the most because it doesn't go, even though it's covering all of these different things, it's not like a list of 20 things, which is just overwhelming. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe my article is going to be more like that, I think. So as I was reading through, I see that they're all recommending these different ways: caching, image file optimization, code optimization, removing code bloat. I also see there's specific tools. So my initial research that I would put into my document is, why is site speed important? That's probably one of the first sections that I'm going to put in there. How to speed up your site. I'm basically just creating a rough outline of what I want to cover, and I'm going to put this in the tool in a second. So I had these main things that I came up with originally, because I wrote the post outside of this just so I could record the video. But, why is site speed important? What are the main ways we can improve it? How do we measure our current performance so we know how fast our site is now? What things should we do first for the biggest impact? I'm not sure if I'll keep that or not. And then walk through how to do these and also testing and stuff as we go. An important thing is make sure you also read the latest content. That's why we looked at stuff in the last month. The reason being is you might find out things that are not covered in the top posts. So when I looked at the new versions, I saw that site speed helps rankings, which is true. Google has a preference for mobile sites because of how much web traffic is on mobile nowadays. It's about 60%. However, last month, Google stopped indexing desktop sites altogether. So that means that all content is mobile content. All of your content in the rankings and things is measured by the performance of its mobile speed. Not only that, though, if your site doesn't load properly on mobile, if it takes too long and things like that, or it just doesn't render properly, Google's no longer going to index you. So if someone searches for your company and it just won't appear in Google anymore, they'll have to put in like the exact URL to show up. None of the ranking articles in the top 3 talk about this, but the stuff in the past month mentions it. So now I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely something that I should include in my article. It's a much bigger reason why I should add that in there. So I also make a note of this. All we're really doing, again, is we're just creating some notes of what we want to cover and then going from there. So as I went through and I started to read all these different things, I started to add even more notes. So I'm like, okay, well, I know what the headline's going to be. Why is site speed important? What are the ways that we improve it? How to measure your site speed? Okay, the 3 main things that I've seen as I'm reading through is hosting. WP Rocket covers a lot of the stuff that these guys are talking about here. And then a dedicated theme. So I can actually make it into just 4 steps. So, I've gone through and I'm like, okay, well, why is this hosting versus that hosting better? Are there certain settings that we need to improve? These are just all my ideas as I've been reading through this of things that I want to cover in the guide. Before I've even written it, it kind of looks, like a not a bad blog post outline already. But I'm just writing it in here in Google Docs so that I can use it in the next lesson and plug it into ChatGPT. So for now, make sure you go through and read all the 6 articles you have open. Do a brief scan through is fine, and add notes to your Google Doc for the outline. So it can be as simple as the topics, like why is site speed important? How do we test our current speed? What are the things that we need to do to improve? Stuff like that. And then just add any extra notes that you think are important, but you should add in, like, when I found out about the July 5th thing, I'm like, okay, well, I definitely need to talk about that because no one else is really talking about it. So it's going to really resonate with my audience. Once you've done that and you've filled out that outline and you've added a couple of extra notes and stuff for each thing, keep that document open. Keep these tabs open as well because we're going to use them. And then click continue, and we're going to go into ChatGPT and we're going to use all of this to help us improve our outline. All right, so the initial article prompt. Now we're going to take the research and the initial outline that we wrote in our Google Doc, and we're going to improve on it using ChatGPT. So basically, we're going to give the tool this core article writing prompt in purple below, as well as some further details. It'll then assess what we've given it and offer any advice on how to improve. So step 1, open up ChatGPT. Make sure you have it set to the 4.0 version. Then what you're going to do is you're going to copy this purple here, like this, and come into here. And you're basically telling it, if you read the actual prompt as well, we're saying, hey, write an article with me. We're going to do it in 3 stages. You're going to ask me for this information, the outline and things like that. Then we're going to start writing it together. So once I've put this purple prompt in here, I'm just going to click this. And you'll notice that it starts to ask me for information. So what area are you the expert? So I'm just going to number these as I answer it. I am a digital marketer with 10 years experience focusing on marketing. Number 2, what is the subject of the article? How to speed up a WordPress site. Number 3, who is the audience? Possibly not technical. The reason why we're giving it the who we are and who the audience is, if it knows who we are, it knows the kind of level of information that we could share. If it knows who the audience is, it can also frame it in such a way so it can simplify or make it more detailed and things like that. If our audience was web developers, we would be talking about coding and things like that. I've said that these are people with WordPress sites. They're probably not technical. That way I can make sure it's simple. For number 4, I want to take the URLs of the top ranking articles on the topic. So I just come across, I take this, and I go back in, I paste the first one, I take the second one. So what we're doing here is I'm going to give it the URLs of the articles that I think are great and that I want it to use as kind of a reference when it's writing, when it's looking at the outline in just a second. So let me just finish these. So then number 5, if you look, it asks you what is the outline of your article with the section headlines. So this is the outline here of all the things I want to cover. So I'm just going to Control-A, Control-C, come across and just copy that in there. The tool is then going to assess my outline as well as the articles that I've given it, the audience, and what it thinks we need to cover. Obviously you need to customize it for your own article, and I've included images here so you can see it up close of what I've just done now. Once you've done that and you've entered that in, hit enter, and in the next video I'm going to go through what we need to do at this point. Alright, so we're going to improve the outline first before we start writing. So we gave the tool the information, who the audience is, who we are, the URLs, and the outline that we've got so far. It's going to compare that to what it knows on the topic already and the 6 URLs you gave it against your outline. It'll then make some recommendations for improvement, such as structure changes, adding content, or things to remove. This is the purple prompt that we added before. This is basically it just working through those steps. Before accepting the tool's changes, though, I want you to go through and look at what it's suggesting. You can ask it why it thinks you should have these things and get further insights. Okay, well, why do you think this? Okay, but what's the relevance of that? And then you can say if you want it or not. The reason we want to check this is a few things. The first one is bloated content. A lot of the time, articles on the internet are just too broad and low quality. Especially AI tool content, they try and fit absolutely everything in about a topic. That's probably what's happened with these. This is just too much to actually fit in there. And I'll show you in a second as well some of the stuff that it recommended I should include, but I don't think I should have. Because the tool is trained on that content, what is currently ranking and things like that, it's going to think that you should cover that also. A lot of the times, you don't need to. We only want it was actually needed and relevant for the post. So by asking it to explain each section and the reasoning behind it, you can say yes or no or whatever. Reason number 2 that you ask questions and have a look at it is it can give you further insights and angles. So if I look at my article here and the insights it gives me, it's taken in all the information that I've gotten and it's given me a revised outline here of what it thinks I should cover. There was a couple of things that I saw in there. The 3 major suggestions are to add in an overview and comparison of different hosting providers. We're going to use the WP Rocket tool, and it thinks that we should mention common setup problems, and it thinks that we should also talk about alternative WordPress themes for speed. They're not bad suggestions, but here's my thoughts. So for hosting, the article's already going to be really long. It's going to be like 8,000 words. I already know because of like the stuff that we're going to cover, because I'm still going to cover some of these things. So I know it's going to be a long article. So I don't want to cover all the different hosting methods that we can use and things like that, because it's just too much. I don't want people to be overcomplicated or go into excess detail. So I'm just going to cover the one type of hosting, just so that the person reading it can see it and go, okay, this is how you do it, and go from there. For the troubleshooting tips, I like the idea, but I don't want to add like a separate section, because then it feels really kind of like an AI post, like, these are the things, this is what you need to look out for, here's how you also do this thing. It doesn't flow that well, like conversationally. So instead, it would be great if when we're setting up the tool, we can mention common problems when it's not done correctly. So instead it's like, hey, turn this thing on, make sure it's on, because if not, you might actually break some of the code. If it does, you can fix it like this. That way we're still keeping the same information, but it's more conversational instead of just like chunks of text. And then for the alternative themes, I do agree that, we could talk about different ones, but the thing is I already have an article on that. So we can mention the 3 ones that I talk about in there and link to my guide. However, I'm just going to use like the one theme in the article. So that's all I want to do. So I just tell the tool that. I've screenshotted it here, so it's a little easier for you to read. And don't laugh at me because I talk to it as if it's a human. So these are good ideas. However, for step 2, I'll be showing them how to set up hosting on Cloudways. So I don't want to share any other options, as this will be too much extra content. For step 3, I like the idea of them learning about common issues, but I don't want a separate section on this. Instead, let's mention any common issues as we go through the setup and why it's important to have the settings in that particular way. For step 4, I already have an article on responsive themes. This is it here that I want to link to. We can mention the other 2 options, which are Generate Press and Neve, but my example will be WP Astra. I tell the tool that, so I wrote it here, and it revises the outline because of this. So now it's changed it, so, okay, well, let's just talk about Cloudways. We're going to talk about why shared hosting and dedicated hosting, which is better and why. Then we're going to talk about the one tool that's going to be in the article. We're going to mention the common issues during the setup, and we're going to also mention those 2 tools. So it's definitely taken into account the things that I've said in the outline. So already, I've taken into account its advice, I've put my own angles on it, so now it's already more unique. I can then further refine it if I want to. So for example, I noticed that in the section on speed optimization, it says here, overview of site optimization tools and the simplicity of the process. This is good, but I actually want to talk about the different things. So these things here, very briefly. I don't want to skip this. The reason being, I want people to see how many different elements are connected to speeding up your website. So I want them to go, oh wow, there is actually quite a few things. And then I'm going to pivot and say, but guess what? If you include this tool, improve your hosting, and change your theme, it'll fix all of them. So we're like, oh wow, there's 20 things to do, but I actually only have to do 3 things to fix it. So when we pivot to the tools, it makes complete sense to them. So I tell it that. Let's make sure that section 3 also mentions the different ways to improve site speed. However, when we pivot to it, say that there's a few tools to do all of this, so it's not as difficult as you think. So it's added that in now. If we come down, this is what I told it. So I'm constantly refining and improving. They call this, what's the technical term? Tree of thought prompting. Basically, you have an idea, and then you branch off, and then you branch off, and then you branch off, just like the branch on a tree. But you're basically improving and narrowing and refining. So already, this outline is way better than what the tool would have done on its own. It would have either created a list of the 20 things. Instead, we've made it's 3 steps. We're going to show you how to do it all. We can get it done in 15 minutes, So straight away, much better article. It's also a better outline than I originally got from the research on my own. So what you're going to do is, because this is just the outline as well, just read through the outline suggestions that it has. Tell it if there's anything you want to add or remove. Add additional details if needed, like I did by saying, Okay, let's talk about this, but not about that. Let's add in this information as well, and here's the reason why I want to add it in, so that the tool understands the context. And then tell it if you want to move it around or restructure. You can even ask it and just say, hey, with all this new stuff, is this the most logical flow? Should we move it around? And it'll tell you if not. So you can keep asking follow-up questions to see if it's worthwhile. Once you've decided and, added your notes in of what you want it to do and what to change, all you're going to do is click enter and just approve the final outline. So you simply tell it to continue and start writing. So you can see that I've done this. Yep, let's make sure that we're doing this. And then you just hit approve and start writing. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to actually start refining this so that you write it section by section and we can improve the article as we go. I'll show you more in just a second. All right, so we're going to improve and refine the initial outputs. So what makes a good article really is the research, yes, and the structure, but the editing. Editing is the thing that makes all the difference. We can kind of cheat with this tool and edit a little bit as we go, and just refining each section to improve it. So that we have an even better draft by the time we come to the editing process. So you'll notice once you hit enter that it's going to start writing one section at a time. We want it to do this because it allows us to refine that one section and lock it in before moving on. Not only that, but by doing it one section at a time, it allows the tool to use more resources to answer. So, basically, it then assigns the memory it has just for that one section instead of using that, that one section of memory on the entire article. Sometimes the tool messes up. So if you ever notice that it starts to answer multiple sections at a time and the content is super basic and short, just tell it the content is too thin. Let's rewrite this section by section and I'll give you feedback, because that's what it's supposed to be doing. So if we go into my article, it actually did that. I gave it some feedback on the outline. It immediately tried to write the entire article. So this is the introduction. This was section 1. This is section 2. This is section 3. It's too short. It's trying to write the entire thing on just this bandwidth of memory here. So I tell it the content's too thin. We're supposed to be running it section by section, and I give you feedback. So I told it that. Now, section 1, way bigger. We're talking about the 3 major pain points and why you need to do this. It's still trying to write section 2 at the same time, which is a bit of a pain. So what I've done here is I give it feedback and refine. So that's the main thing that we're trying to do, really. So I've said that I like the first section. However, let's rearrange it so we talk about the user experience first, then the financial implications, and then the mobile rankings. The reason being is when it's talking about this stuff here, we go straight into mobile rankings and then how they're losing money if their site's not sped up. That's more important. People care about that more. So you're losing customers and traffic. People care about that. You're losing money. By the way, you might not even be showing up in Google. So we've just rearranged it slightly. Also, let's mention the July 5th update. I put that in the notes, but it didn't talk about it. And when I be clear as well, it means that no desktop sites are being indexed anymore. Also, let's make sure that we're just doing it section by section. So I refined. If you notice now, it goes into more detail. It talks about it's put it in the correct order. It's adding statistics and things in. Okay. It can be better. This is good. However, please find me links to relevant sources for these stats. So I asked it, and like I said in the introduction, you've got to kind of think of the tool as like a really happy intern. They're going to try and help you to the best of their abilities, but they're going to get confused. So it just gave me links. It's like, here's the stats. Okay, thank you, but can you include them actually into the article for me? So now it goes in, and it's added them at the bottom. All right, so I don't want the links at the end of the section. Include them instead in the article where they're relevant and relate to the stat. So now it's gone into more detail. It's added these relevant studies, and it's made it so much better, the introduction. So I just tell it, this is perfect, please lock this in as the final version for this section so far, and then continue writing. It has a bit of an issue in that it writes the first bit again, and then it writes the second section. So what I said is, okay, let's only write the ways to improve section 2. I like what you've done so far. I have some changes to make. First off, let's discuss the broader overview of speed optimization and the 2 main areas, on-site and off-site. I know about this because I did it and I found it in my research before. The main things we're fixing is issues on our site, and then we're fixing delivery, so off-site stuff. Then I want to break down the techniques to fit each of those. Then I want to pivot to mentioning the tool can do all of this. So if you remember, I said before, I want us to talk about all the different steps, that the factors that come into improving site speed, so that people go, oh wow, there's a lot to this. And then I also want to just pivot and say, but we can do it all with these 3 tools. I also asked it, am I missing anything that could be included for this section? Because you can do that. You can just say, hey, don't respond just yet. Give me some advice so far. Is there something missing here? What could we do? What could we improve? You don't have to accept what it says, but you can use it as a research tool without you even having to go into Google from here to improve it. You go, I wonder if that's relevant. So I was doing an article on site speed, a different one on mobile content, and it kept talking about how Google Analytics for mobile, how do you measure mobile performance and all this other stuff, and it kept trying to put that in. And I look at it, I'm like, none of this is relevant. It's like, yes, it's a topic that is important, but it's going too broad again. So the advice wasn't very good. But it's also how I found out about the Google update. So, you can always keep refining and using it as a research tool. So now it's just writing section 2, and it's gone into more detail, and it's breaking down the different things, all the on-site optimizations, image caching, stuff like that. You'll notice ChatGPT likes to do a lot of bullet points. So it's good, it's listing out the information, but it's terrible for a reader. So this is good, but let's go into a little more detail and context for each of these, please. So image optimization before, compressing images using correct formats. So it's gone into more detail about each of them and why we should matter, why we should care. Okay, it's better, but a little bit more depth. For example, browser caching only improves future visits. It doesn't mention that on there, but that's an important thing. It's a way to speed up your website, but we didn't give enough detail, so the audience reading it will be like, do I care about that? Do I need that? So now it's gone into more details again. It started to talk about these. This is much better already. Okay. So my feedback to it again now is it's going to pivot to the tools once it's done these things. And it's got the 3 steps. Measuring your site speed, dedicated hosting, WP Rocket. Let's make sure to add the 4th step, which is a lightweight theme. Also, mention up top before we get into the methods that the 3 tools can do this. And I just gave it some feedback. So again, it's still writing, it's rewriting the section each time. See, it's going into even more details now. Compressing images, you can use these tools, or you can do this. Once it's compressed, it's going to load faster and use less bandwidth. Again, improving and improving and improving again. I didn't like what it did, though, so I said, okay, well, let's remove the tools from the top, because it gave a list of all the tools straight away. Instead, just mention that we're going to use 3 tools. You don't need to name what they are. It's going to fix all of these things, and then we'll pivot to it at the end. So it improves and improves and improves. And now, it asks me every time, I've made the changes. What do you think about this? Does this revised section look good to you? And so I just say, okay, perfect. Let's continue on to the next section, please. And that's all I'm doing is I'm just improving and giving more feedback and saying, okay, let's tweak that. Let's tweak this, as I would if it was in a Google Doc and I was just writing it myself. But I don't have to do any of that because I can do it all here in the tool. And when I just continue to do that for each section of the article, I'm just improving and improving. This is great for section 3. However, for the explanations, let's just make them 1 paragraph without the subheads of what it measures and why it matters. Because I want it to be more of a conversational tone instead of just always bullet points. So then it changes it into actually, okay, well, these are the things, and it's going into more detail, and it's adding paragraphs about it. It's good, but again, still not enough detail, so I ask it again to change those things around. Much better, so I like that section, so let's go on to the next one. I read it through. I notice that it covers the differences in hosting, but we mentioned that earlier in the article, so I'm like, okay, well, let's change those things and see where we can go from there. You don't need to see me writing the whole thing. All I really want you to know is that you're basically just going to let the tool write the section one at a time, and we're just refining it. That's the goal here. We're not trying to change tone or add in SEO or anything like that. We have edits to do that later. We just want to make sure that we're covering the right things so that when we come to edit it, we've already got that stuff in there. I want, so for the site optimization bit, I wanted to make sure that we talked about the different things that are needed. That wasn't covered at first. That's all you really need to do. Just let the tool write the section, read it, give it feedback, see what you want to change, add, remove, or give further details as you're going. So, for you to do now, go ahead and work through your article one section at a time and refine it where it's needed. So, common things are asking it to explain something in more detail if the content is too short. You notice I had that a couple of times. Asking it to remove something if it does it twice. If you've already talked about it higher in the content, you don't want to talk about it again here. Just doesn't make sense. Asking for more context around an answer, like what, why, how, why is this important? Why is it important to the reader? When I was talking about browser caching, it just said that it's a technique. Okay, well, how does it work? Why does the audience care about this? These are all things that I would edit in an article so that it resonates with the reader more. But I can add that in a little bit now just so that I'm not asking for it later. I can ask it to simplify things. So, okay, well, this is a little bit complex. Can you give me some examples that would fit my audience so that they can understand it easier? And can you provide some sources and data points? So you're talking about these different things. Can you actually include a link in there for me so that we're constantly refining? All you have to do then is just work through it section by section. Once you're happy with a section, just tell it, this is great, let's continue. And you work through one by one by one. Once you finish with that, keep this open and go into the next video and I'll show you what to do. All right, so you've gone through in ChatGPT, writing each section at a time with the tool, refining it and improving it. At this point, in theory, you could export the article as it is and upload it, and it would still be better than a generic prompt. We don't want to do that, though, because we want to create something that's awesome. So what we want to do first is we want to get organized. So before we start editing the article, we're going to copy and paste our article draft into a Google Doc. So if you remember the Google Doc before, you can just paste it in there, copy and paste over the top. There's a few reasons for this. There's a couple of edits that we need to do manually later, kind of like layouts and adding images and things like that. We can't currently do that inside of ChatGPT. So until it becomes a feature, we need to do it elsewhere. More importantly, though, ChatGPT can struggle with memory or token issues when you have a lot of content or a lot of run-on prompts. Around 7,000, 8,000 words in a single chat, it starts to mess up. It breaks, gives the wrong answers, it goes into loops where it does the same thing. We can get around that by doing staggered editing, so we just do one edit at a time in the tool. And we can also get around it by saving the latest version of our draft at key points and then using that alongside a prompt. So, for example, if it fails, what we could do is we just go into ChatGPT, we click on a new chat, we put in our new prompt, and then we copy and paste the latest version of our article alongside that prompt, and then it can do it without having any memory issues. So, the thing is, though, right now, you've been asking and refining and so on back and forth. So it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to copy your article into that Google Doc. So what you can do instead is you can copy this and right-click and just say, I want to copy and paste the finished article so far with all the approved final sections. Please rewrite it now for me as one response. So I did that. Let me go through here. Capacities, refinements. So you tell it to do that, and then it's just going to rewrite the entire article for you. It might have to do it in a few stages. Basically, it'll say continue generating here, and you just click. And then all you need to do is just highlight the entire article. Once you've highlighted it all, right-click, copy, and then go in and just paste over the top. So to make it easy for you to see what's going on, I've saved different versions of the document at each point. So this is version 1, where we're just doing the outline of the draft. This is version 2, and you can find this below the video. Click to download. And you can see here, this is my article so far. It's 12 pages, having written in ChatGPT with me refining and improving and things like that. You need to do the same thing and save your article into a Google Doc so that you can do the rest of the edits later on, and also keep it saved for any kind of memory issues. So go ahead and do that. Write that prompt. I want to copy and paste the finished article so far with all the approved final sections. You can literally just right-click and copy this as well into the message. And then just put that into the Google Doc. And in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to actually start editing it for copywriting issues inside of ChatGPT. All right, so copywriting edits. These next 2 steps are going to make such a life changer for your content quality, and they're so easy to implement. So like I said back in the introduction, what makes an article great is the editing. And in this step, we're going to be focused on copywriting. So if you don't know, copywriting is a process of just basically improving your content so that it connects more with the reader. When it connects, it resonates and it improves performance. I'm not going to get into all of copywriting here because it's a huge topic on its own. However, there are some very basic copywriting edits that we can do. And the good news is that we can get the tool to do all of them for us. However, because the tool can have issues, I want to just teach you what they are so that you can look for them and make sure that they're actually working in your post. So let's go through these edits. Writing for one person. So although content can be read by millions, it's far more effective if we write it as if we're talking to a single person. For example, businesses often face challenges when managing remote teams. We can change that to, are you facing challenges managing your remote team? It's really simple, but it speaks to the reader directly, and so it resonates better. We can also tell a story with headlines and pull people through the page. So a lot of your audience will skim the page before actually reading. So a really easy way to hook them is each of your headlines kind of tells a story so they can see what they're about to get, and then they actually start reading. We can add in open loops. Open loops are a way of keeping your readers interested in finding out something. So you bring up a topic, and when you don't finish the topic, so the loop is still open. We haven't closed the loop. So it could be similar to how a YouTube video might tell people to watch till the end so they don't miss something, or how a TV show might tease like an ongoing story arc at the start of the episode, be an episode of the week, and then at the end it carries on, teasing that story arc so that you want to watch the next version. We can improve the introduction. So when the tool first wrote the introduction, it kind of just gave you a placeholder based on the outline information. However, we can get it to rewrite it now, and it can take the entire rest of the post that's written so far into context and improve the introduction. We can also help the reader connect the dots. So adding transition sentences between sections. It's going to do all of this for us, and it's going to make night and day difference. You can see here is the version I just did where we refined and answered questions. And then this is the version with copywriting added. I'm going to go through in a little second so you can actually see. But again, this is just below the video. So if you want to open these and compare the two, you can. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to run all of the copywriting edits at once via ChatGPT. But because of the memory of the tool, we're going to just do it section by section like we did when we were refining. This way it only focuses on the one section and it won't mess up. But more importantly, we can also check the edit that it's doing at the same time to make sure that it's doing it correctly. So the first thing we want to do is go back into ChatGPT, make sure it's set to 4.0, and we're going to do a new chat. So you go up here, press new chat. I've actually already done these copywriting edits because I finished this article, but just so you can see. So I have the new chat here, so I can use all the memory in this new window, and it's not limited by all the stuff that we've covered so far. Then I'm going to put this in. Basically, I'm just telling it to do all of these edits that I just asked to do. When you put this into this new prompt, obviously you're going to delete where it says paste full document here, and you're just going to copy in your version that you've just refined. So all you would do, I'll even show you. You're going to take this, copy, and in the new chat here, and then we're going to delete this line, and then we're going to take our refined article from there, and we're going to plug that into ChatGPT, and then hit go. It's then going to start doing the edits, the copywriting edits for us, and it's going to show us the original version and how it's improved upon it. Before it does anything, though, it's going to ask you to tell them who the ideal audience is. The reason we're doing this is that we're in a brand new chat. And copywriting, again, is all about resonating with the audience. So the tool needs to know who the audience is. So I can just say, someone with a WordPress site that and I can just tell it that. It's going to take that into consideration now as it starts to write. So it's now using a copywriting formula to do the introduction, which is much better. So this, see it says here, original text. Why is site speed important? So this is the original version of this section, and now it's changed it to why site speed matters. Instead of just talking about this one thing, it's talking about the impact of your visitors. It's totally changed the writing. Instead of just saying like the stats and making it boring, it's talking to the person directly. It's making it way more entertaining. It's adding emotional like gravitas into it. It's basically just going to go through this one at a time, improving it. So instead of how to improve your WordPress site in 3 steps, turbocharge your WordPress site in 4 easy steps. So it's even fixed it because there was an extra step that I hadn't changed from before. If we look at the next section here, so it goes into like why site speed matters. It's improved all the headlines and things like that. Just like before in the last video, when we were refining. We can also refine here. We can ask it to make additional changes, add content, remove content, things like that, because it's doing it section by section. However, this is really important. You might be tempted because you see it's doing a good job to say, okay, this is great, just write the whole thing for me with these changes. Don't do that because it will suffer from the memory issue and it'll kind of do a crappy job. You want it to do it one at a time. You read it, you look at it, you go, okay, I like that, let's do the next one. I like that, let's do the next one. And then all you do is you just carry on through doing these copywriting edits, refining, giving feedback where you want to and things like that. And you'll be really, really surprised how much better this improves your article. It'll improve the tone, everything. Then as you're going through, you can give it feedback, but you don't have to. But each time you get to each section, just say, okay, this is great. Please continue to the next section. This is great. Continue to the next section and keep working through until you get to the point where it's finished. And then all you have to do is, just like before, say, I want to copy and paste the finished version with all these approved edits. Please rewrite the article for me now so I can copy it. Once it does, all you're going to do is, just go all the way through that post, right-click, copy, and just put it into your Google Docs so you have that new version. We're going to use this in the next edit when we start to do SEO edits and things like that. But we want to keep putting the latest version into the Google Docs so that we've got it. So if anything breaks, we can just add the prompt and then copy and paste this across. But work your way through. Do all these copywriting edits. Just double check them as it's going through. You know, do you like that? Do you not? Do you want to change this slightly? Are they addressing the audience slightly wrong? Maybe you needed to refine the audience a little bit. Okay, they are actually a bit more technical than this, so give some more details. Go all the way through, copy and paste it across, and then in the next video, we're going to improve it again. All right, editing for SEO and on-page optimization. So we want to try and add some SEO edits into our articles so that search engines know when to recommend your post. There's basically 3 types of edits that we need to add: on-page optimization, meta title and meta description, and internal linking to other content. Most of this we can do inside the tool, but not all of it. I'll cover the other things later on that we need to do manually. For now, though, let's work through these 2 AI-assisted edits. So the first one is going to be on-page optimization. I know we haven't really talked about SEO at all during this course because it's not about that. It's not the focus. However, I just want to cover some basics so you understand what's going on. On-page optimization is basically just ticking a bunch of boxes so that Google knows what the article is about, as it can't always figure it out. Sometimes it gets confused. If it knows what it's about, it can then recommend it to people when they search for that thing. So your article topic is pretty much what your focus keyword is about. I'm writing an article about how to improve WordPress site speed. So that's my focus term. That's what I'm trying to rank for, basically. That's what I want Google to know this article is about. If you've got tools like Ahrefs and things like that, you could look at the article idea, refine it a little bit more, get like a specific keyword. However, we're not going to worry about that too much for now. All we really want to do is make sure that it's just clear what your article topic is, and we're going to use a tool to help us do that. So one thing though, the tool sometimes struggles with this, and it will edit things weird. So you're going to definitely need to read through the article and make sure that the keyword insertions, the focus keyword, seems natural. Just like in the last edit, it's going to show you what it changed and what it didn't change, and then you can see it and approve it. So once again, you're going to open up a new chat. So you're going to go into ChatGPT, set up a new chat, make sure it's on 4.0, and then we're going to get into the SEO edits. So you're going to copy and paste this. Help me edit my article for on-page SEO with the focus keyword XXX. It's going to ask you what the focus keyword is. So you're going to copy this in, and then when it says current article, paste full document, you're going to delete full document, and you're just going to take the copywritten version that we did before and paste that into ChatGPT. Then it's going to go ahead and it's going to rewrite your post entirely with the new SEO changes made. Honestly, it does struggle with this, and sometimes it's different. So sometimes it will write the original section and then the edited section next to it, like it did with the copywriting. Sometimes it will do it at the very end of the post. Sometimes it'll tell you what it's going to change at the start of the post. So in my current version, I told it that the focus keyword is this. So as soon as I've added this prompt in, I'll show you. New chat. I'm going to delete this bit here, and then I'm going to get my copywriting version and go back. It's going to ask me for the focus keyword, and like I say, it can really vary how it does these things. So my focus keyword is so this is the thing that I want it to use. And in the prompt, I've told it to add it in certain places. In the title, in the H2 tag, 3 times in the content, near the end of the post, stuff like that. You don't really need to know about any of that. You just need to check that it's actually done it for you and it doesn't look weird. So it's told me what it's going to do here. So it's changed my heading, how to improve WordPress site speed. So it's added it into the title, into the first 100 words, and so on. It's going to write the post. As you can see, it's still going here. But like I say, it sometimes messes it up. So we want to double check that it's actually doing the thing. So we can just say, without rewriting the whole article again, show me the SEO edits you just made so that I can check them. Show me the original section and then the edited section next to each other, not the whole post, just the edited parts. And that's what it's done here. So there's like 7 places where I want it to be inserted, so it showed me the original and then the edited. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. So I said, okay, this is great, however, some of these were missed. Please change the first H2 from main ways to improve your website speed to main ways to improve your WordPress site speed, because that's the keyword I'm trying to target. Please change the conclusion from this to this. It's as simple as that. Then it will change it and it'll rewrite it. And all you'll need to do is just ask it again. Hey, in fact, you don't even have to ask it to rewrite it, because when it makes these changes, it'll just rewrite the post in full. And then you just copy it and paste it into your Google Docs so you have a new version. So you can see here, how to speed up your WordPress site speed in 4 easy steps. That's the new headline. It's changed that. It's added in the keyword here. It's added it in the first 100 words. In fact, if I put in WordPress site speed, I can see it's in there at the end as well. And I know that it's 3 times in the post. Super simple. It's done some of the on-page optimization and things that we need. There is another edit that we need to do. So once you've copied the article and saved the new version into your Google Doc, I'll show you how to do the next one. All right, so this is the last of our AI edits. We've actually done quite a lot to the article already. So it's the amount of time it's saved if you were trying to write this article to get to this point, to this level of quality, is insane. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in meta titles and meta descriptions. So when you're uploading your article later to WordPress or whatever platform, there'll be an option for you to include these things. And basically what it does is it improves your click-through rate when you show up in search engines. So meta title is this in purple here, and meta description is the paragraph underneath. This article here clearly has not optimized it because it's too long and it's not fitting and it doesn't make any sense. It's got the date and things like that. So it kind of sucks. It's not compelling to click. The good news is we can use the tool to help us write this in seconds. So basically we just copy and paste this into the prompt, and you can even do this in the chat that's still open. So if I go to this one here, you can even just do it in the chat and just say, I need to write a meta title and meta description for this article. The title can't be more than 64 characters. The meta description can't be longer than 159. That's basically the limits here, so that it shows up on the screen. Let's create 4 variations and use the focus keyword in the meta description. So if I write that here, it's already done it there, but you can see again. So it's taken into consideration the article above. I don't need to open up a new chat because it needs to see the article to be able to write the description. So here's 4 different versions. Speed up your WordPress site in 4 easy steps. Are you frustrated with a slow site? Learn how to speed it up. You can keep asking it to do different versions to see one that you like. You can even say, okay, well, maybe, maybe talk about pain points, or maybe talk about the things we cover, or maybe don't share the things we cover because I want them to be interested and click on it. Once you have seen one that you like, open up this site here. It's called metatags.io. And what you can do is you can put in your meta title and your meta description, and it will show you what it looks like actually in Google once you've added it properly. That way you can see if it's too long or if it's too short or whatever else. So the one that I went with is how to speed up your WordPress site in 4 easy steps. Are you struggling with slow load times? Follow our complete walkthrough on how to speed up your WordPress site, enhancing speed and user experience. So I've tested it. I went across into the tool. I took the version. Let's just grab one of these. I went in here to check that it fits underneath, and it does. And the title. Let's say that we wanted that one. I know that fits as well. It's fine. Sometimes, though, it will do it and it's too long. So basically what you can do is say, I like the title and description that I've pasted below, but it's too long. And you're just basically telling it the settings again. It needs to be 159 max, 64 for the title. So you just write that, and then where it says title, paste here, description, paste here, you would just copy them in. Then it will give you another version, and you go back to meta tags. Okay, does this one fit? If it does, perfect. So once you've done that, you're not going to use this for a little while until you're actually uploading your article. But I find one of the easiest things to do is if I just highlight my title and right-click to leave a comment, and when I just paste that into the side, as I've done here. So my focus keyword is this, my meta title is this, my meta description is this. Later on, when I go to upload an article, I have all that information ready. And it's as simple as that. That's literally all it takes. You can grab it from there later and add it into your WordPress. So make your meta tag, your meta title, and your meta description, save them onto your article, and then we'll jump into the next lesson. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to be doing the formatting and context editing at the same time, mainly because they're pretty easy to do together as you're going through the post. The first thing, the reason we do formatting now is one, you've got to do it. You've got to finish the layout anyway, so you might as well do it now. It's much easier to edit the post when it looks good, when it's not just a wall of text and things like that, because you can go, oh, okay, well, I need this thing here, or that's a typo mistake, or something like that. Also, changing the formatting, breaking up walls of text and things like that, literally changes people's perception of how valuable your article is. They did a study years ago of kind of like a mom blog with health advice, which had a bunch of images, versus an actual medical journal. And people thought that the mom blog was more higher quality, better value, things like that, even though the information was identical. They just formatted it better. So these are my main formatting edits. I'm going to show you the difference in a second. First thing, make sure that headers follow a logical size progression. Super simple. So make sure that the title is an H1 or title tag in our Google Doc, and that all of the subheads are H2, where needed. Any subheads inside of those are H3 or H4. So we told the tool to do this, but ChatGPT doesn't always do what we ask it to. So if we look at the article after all the SEO edits, my main title is actually an H3 tag instead of an H1. So obviously I need to change that to an H1. Fix that. This should be an H2. This should be H3, 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 H2, H3, as we're going through the post. We also want to make some general page layout improvements. This can be weird formatting issues. ChatGPT likes to add a lot of bullet points and smaller headings for sections. So as you see here, there's a lot of headings in here for no real reason at the moment. Also, bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, bullet points. It's just a wall of information, and it's kind of overwhelming and not very valuable. Bullet points are great. In fact, I'm going to tell you to actually add some in a second. But if you have too many of them like this, you look at it and you go, oh my God, it reads like a technical document, which is because ChatGPT was trained on technical documents. So it doesn't look great. So we're going to keep the ones that make sense. And for the ones that are not, you just go into the content, and I'm going to show you this in a second, me actually doing this. And you're going to break it up. Next thing is we want to improve readability. So no one likes a wall of text. It's really hard to read. Ironically, ways we can break that up is bullet points, subheads, and images and videos, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So if we look at my post after the SEO edits, look at this. This is just awful. It's just walls of text, one thing after the next. It's really hard on the eyes. These bits of white space here kind of help, but it's not that great. Whereas if I break that up, this is the exact same post. I haven't changed anything. I've just actually taken that section and add spacing in where it makes sense. I'm not going to add it, well, so all I've done is go through. That makes sense to be there. That makes sense to be here. You know? So you can actually see how much better that is and how much it flows already. I can add bullet points in where they're needed and things like that. I also want to add, I just want to say, the goal isn't to create like weird content that you see like influencers online where they're just like, it doesn't make sense. There's just like not a flowing sentence. If someone talked to you like this, you'd think they were insane. You know, here's how I made more sales. One day I realized that I could write things better, ... And it's like, oh my God. It's just, it looks absolutely crazy. Instead, what we're trying to do is just break up the large sections of text so that they look normal. So if someone talked to you like this, all in one go, blah, 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 all the way through, they would be crazy, right? If they only said like 4 words out of a line each time, it would be crazy also. So instead, if you're not sure how to do this, just read through, and as you go, and any point that you would stop to breathe is usually where there'll be a new line. Or if it's a slight change in topic, you know? Do you ever get frustrated waiting for your WordPress site to load? It's a common problem that can drive your visitors away, hurt your search engine rankings, and even cost you money. But here's the good news. Speeding up your site is easier than you think. In fact, see, I can even put this here if I want to, but I just want to break it up a little bit so there's a bit more white space so that it's easy to read. Context edits. So this section of edits, I'll be totally honest, is what makes or breaks a post where people go, wow, that's fantastic. And all it is adding images, videos, and links. You can use them to break up walls of text. Links help provide proof of something, such as a statistic or a point you're trying to prove. They also add further value by sharing other resources. Images also provide context. So if you're talking about something, it makes it easier if you then include an image at the same time. So for example, I use a tool called Snagit to grab images. I'm even going to show you how I do this. I basically press a button and I just grab whatever section of the screen I want. I can then edit it immediately in the tool, add comments, highlights, stuff like that. So this is Snagit. This is the tool here. Drag, click. Oh, I've got it on the wrong setting. I've got it on the video setting. But you get the idea. It takes the image, and then I can go onto it, and I can highlight it, and I say, wow, so cheap, etc. And then I would save it, Snagit. And then I would go into my article where I talked about Snagit, and I would literally just go, upload from computer, Snagit. And it's as simple as that. So it would improve my article. You know, this is not relevant to here. I just want to show you how fast and how easy it is to grab those things and do that stuff. Anyway, by adding the image when I'm talking about it, you get the context. So what's really meta, me sharing the image and talking about Snagit actually, you know, helps you to understand this concept that I'm trying to talk to you about. You can also go into more detail as well for context edits. So the copywriting edits that we did, they cover this pretty well because they go into formal tone, they simplify and things like that. They help the reader connect the dots. It could be, though, that you're reading through and you're writing and you're just like, okay, well, this needs a little bit more information, so I'm going to add an image. And then you could also add some more context. So, again, Snagit. It's $120 for lifetime. It seems expensive, but I could add more details to break it down to my audience. Like if I was trying to talk to you about buying this tool, I could easily say, you know, in the past, I used to have to print screen and print my entire screen, go into Canva, break it down, change the thing, add the images, load Canva, download, get the download file, then find it. Snagit, you just saw, it takes like 10 seconds to grab the thing, add a comment, and save it. Whereas in Canva, it would take me like 2 minutes. So if I wanted to add 20 images into an article, I'm looking at maybe 200 seconds using Snagit, or 40 minutes, 40 extra minutes if I'm using Canva. If I break that down and I'm writing one article a week for 52 weeks at 40 minutes, it's 35 hours. So 35 hours of just faffing around trying to add an image. So Snagit makes total sense to use to add images. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding an additional context. That's all it is. So if we go through my article here, I've broken up the white space, all the headers, H1, H2, H3, 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 H2, H3, H2, H3, so on. I've added images where it makes sense. I've added external links because they help prove a point. So here, where I'm saying this study by Google of millions of websites, then if a site takes more than 3 seconds to load, 53% of people will leave. So I'm improving the introduction. I've got a picture from the study. I've added a link to it. I've done it again. So this one here, site speed affects rankings and visibility. I can look for July 20. Where are we? July 5th, 2024. I could go to this report here that talks about it. And then that's what I'm after, the Google blog. I could grab a screenshot of this showing that it's from Google, which I will. I can highlight it, so as of now, I don't want that. So I'm just highlighting like how important this is. All content is now mobile content. And I'll just save it. Google update, July 5th. I go back into my article, and then it's as simple as going see how that now is improving that. I can even take this link from here next to the image and say, this is the different update. And they got remove their desktop crawler. Just see how much it improves the article already. It's broken up the text that was there before. I've added bullet points and things with like a too long don't read, stuff like that. But again, it's just going through, adding images where I think it would make sense to add them in so I can break it up. So here, images are the biggest file on the site, however, they're currently the size of the bus. So let's have a look for a meme. I use image flip. Let's see if there's a bus meme. Oh, actually, a bus. So basically, I'm just looking for something that I can put into the article here. I'm basically saying that in the article that I'm writing in this guide, image optimization is a massive thing because the things that we take photos of, the quality of our camera is so high that we are saving pixel sizes that are way too big. So I could add a meme in here or something like that to show this. And then it's just finding one. That would fit. So here's a picture of a billboard. I can capture this. I can save that as billboard. Add it into the article. It adds some context so they can go, oh, okay, this is why I need to optimize my images, because if I expanded them out, they would be the same size as a billboard. I didn't realize that, and they don't have to worry about the quality, because on the screens that they're on and human eyes, you can't actually notice the difference, and that's why you need to compress. So super simple, like super basic edits, but they make such a big difference. All I'm doing is sorting out header issues and layout, adding white space so it's easier to read, adding images for further white space, but also while adding context, adding links when I reference something so that it proves the point, so that when you look at it, you go, is that actually true? 50% of websites bounce. Oh, okay. If it was just a text, you might not believe me. The fact that I've linked to a study that proves it, even better. The fact that I've got an image from it as well, if it was an actual graph showing it, even better. But straight away, in the introduction now, this person is hooked. They're like, oh, wow, this is really important. I wanted to improve my site speed, but I didn't realize that it was actually like so important. And then I'm just adding in more detail if something isn't totally clear. So below the video, you'll see the latest version 5. Have a look at this and compare it. Honestly, even if we zoom out, it just looks so much better here, just from scanning, than this, which is just walls and walls of text. I cannot emphasize enough how much this will improve your article just by going through like this and adding images. It's going to bloat it out. Like it was 12 pages before, now it's 36 after I've added the images and things like that, because they're massive. But it adds so much value to the audience. I've added in the links and things like that. Use whatever tool you want to use for it. Like I say, Snagit is one I use. I've had it for like 9 years. So I paid like $9 per year for it in total. And it's already paid off now. But you get what I mean. These edits make such a huge difference. Get all those done. This is going to take the longest part of your time. If you're not sure, again, reference the 2 different versions of this article so you can see what I've done. Then in the next video, we're going to do some manual SEO edits, just 2 really quick things, and then we're just going to do the final checks. Your article, after this, 98% done. So don't skimp here, because this seriously will make the biggest difference between people opening your article, being blown away, and it ranking and getting backlinks and converting into sales, versus people being bored and bouncing away, So get those done. I'll probably see you in like a couple of hours, and then I'll show you how to do these manual SEO edits. All right, manual SEO edits. First off, well done on doing all the work in the last lesson. I know it took a long time, but it really makes the biggest difference. Anyway, there's 2 manual SEO edits that we need to do. The reason being, we couldn't do them in ChatGPT. So the first thing we want to do is just make sure that your first image is named after your focus keyword. Usually it's the header image or something like that. All you have to do is just make sure it's named it and save it. So in that way, when Google is scanning your article, it can't make out what images are. To them, it's just a rectangle of like certain size. But it looks at what the text is, what it's called, basically what the file is saved as. So here my article was about mobile content marketing, so I just saved it as that. Simple. Now when Google scans it, it'll go through the article, it'll see the headline, it'll see the focus keyword, it'll see it in the first 100 words and go, okay, this is definitely about this topic. And that's why that article ranked a week later, Well, simple keyword as well. Manual edit number 2, we want to add internal links to our own pages. So basically we want to link to other articles, other pages, other products and stuff on our site. It helps those pages rank, and it looks good in the eyes of the readers because it's, we're sharing more resources that we have for them. In theory, we could ask ChatGPT to scan our site, scan our article, and then find relevant links. It messes it up every single time. I've tried so many times to get it to work, and it just doesn't do it. Either it can't find them, even though they're obvious. It'll insert fake links to things. It'll insert them in a real scummy, kind of scammy way. It inserts links to that don't work, or it links to topics that just don't exist. So we can do it manually, but basically we go into our article, and you might have a few topics in mind. So in this article, basically I'm talking about site speed, right? So I could talk about responsive site design or something like that and include a link to it. But for the sake of keeping this example, let's say that I wrote an article about content promotion techniques and I mentioned paid traffic. I know I've got a bunch of articles about paid traffic. So what I can do instead is I can use this search here. Site, yourwebsite.com plus the article topic. So if I put that in Google, basically it's going to search only my website for this article topic. So I put in site at mycontent.com plus paid ads. And it's giving me 1, 2, 3, 4 articles that I could potentially link to in my post. So then I go into my article and include the link. Super simple. Here's just a quick thing though. When it comes up on the search like this, let's see. Don't just like right click, copy link here, because what it does, if you see at the bottom of the screen, it's got google.com/URL/source. It'll copy all of that instead, and it'll actually bring people to this page. So instead what you want to do is just click on the article, then wait for it to load, then get the link, and then you would go into your post, and wherever you wanted to put it, you would just then paste it in there. You only want to do it, 2 or 3 times. You don't want to stuff the whole article with things, but just where it's relevant. So, I've got this article here about responsive. Let's see if this comes up. Let's see if I can spell. There you go. How to create a responsive WordPress website. So I grab that, and then I go into my article here, and I search for theme, because we're talking about WordPress themes. A lightweight theme. Ta-da! And now I have an internal link so that when someone reads that, they can go, oh, okay, there's more information about it there if I want to learn about it. Super simple. So just do those 2 edits. Your first original image, I don't know how you're creating them. Maybe you're creating them in Canva and stuff, which is easy enough to do. I really like this layout here where I've just got my brand, text of what the article about, and then an image that relates to it. I find that works well enough. Make sure you save it as the right thing, and then add in the internal links. And that's all it is for this lesson. All right, the home stretch, we are almost finished. These are the last edits that we need to do. They are pretty vital, so don't skip this. Basically, we're checking to make sure that everything is okay. So, first thing we want to do, the first couple of edits here, is just to understand that LLMs, ChatGPT, it's a large language model, that's what LLM stands for. They have issues. So double check your information. So they'll have hallucinations where they make things up. We've already talked about that where we were looking at the links earlier. It'll insert random phrases if you're not careful, such as notifications for the user. Like I agree with this, you've run out of credits, something like that where you've copied it by accident. And they'll overuse certain words. So basically fix the stats. So go through, double check any statistics, make sure that the link actually works. It goes to the page it's supposed to. It actually does the thing that it's talking about. So here, double check that, load it up. Yep, that's recent. I know it is because I went through and I got the images and stuff earlier, but there might be some links in here that you haven't checked, so double check them all. Change the verbs. It loves to say that things are powerful or to delve into the data. ChatGPT is powerful. Google Docs is powerful. It'll say it all the damn time. So it's not a major issue, but if your audience uses these tools a few times themselves, they're going to be like, hang on a minute, this person wrote this with ChatGPT or whatever. Not only that, though, it's not your tone of voice. So you can just change it into something how you would say it, ChatGPT is an awesome tool, but it's kind of flawed. So I might say that, or whatever. Again, check for user-only notifications. You cannot miss this check. So this is stuff where, say you were refining things back and forth and by accident you've managed to copy a section, or it says that you ran out of credits or something like that. You want to double check that it doesn't have any of this in there. And basically you can just do it by reading through the article, which you're going to do anyway in a second. But this is why it's so important, because if it says, as a large language model, I am unable to do X, you see all these kids like handing in documents and things, or even like lawyers and stuff like that. You don't want it in there. For one, you're going to lose all the trust immediately if you have that. Final edit number 2, run a spell check in Google Docs. You've got your article, tools, spelling, and grammar check. Make sure there's no typos. And then just do that final read through, as you're going through it. One thing that I notice, and it depends on the settings that you've got, but sometimes Google Docs will autocorrect words as you're typing, but it assumes that you're trying to write a different word. So as I was writing this, I wrote the word start. We're going to start doing this thing. Changed it to Stuart. I didn't see that. It wasn't until I was reading through that I actually noticed it, because Stuart is not a typo, but it's not a spelling mistake. So it didn't get picked up. You can use tools like Grammarly and things to try and find it, but even those start to struggle when you've got a lot of content going on. So honestly, the best thing to do is just read through the article. Just going to read through, double check that, it doesn't have these weird typos and it's not talking about these LLMs. And also just look at tone. So you might be reading it and just go, it sounds a bit weird. I could just change this a little bit to be my tone of voice. Or I'm just going to explain this a little bit more so it sounds like me. You don't have to, but it's going to resonate with your readers a little bit more. And I personally feel like it makes the post better. Top tip, go for like a 5-minute walk before you do this. Run the spell check. That's fine. Go for a 5-minute walk, grab a coffee, do whatever. Sometimes I'll write the post and I'll come back and read the next day, because there'll be typos and things that I got through, but I've read like maybe 5 times. As I'm recording this video, I'm seeing like typos and stuff in here, but I have checked and I have read through and they still get through, so it's always worth checking the next day with fresh eyes. I wrote this yesterday, I'm recording it today. I should have double checked it then. Once you've done all this, your article's ready to go. That's how quick and easy it is to write something this awesome in ChatGPT with this tool. It's way better than you would have got before. It fits your tone of voice. It talks about all the things that you're interested in because you refined as you went. You've tweaked the structure. It's not going to be the copy and paste like everyone else's. It's going to be so much better, and it's so much faster and easier than what you would have done in the past. Writing this article, 36 pages. How many words? Probably like about 7,000 words. Let's have a look. Maybe 5. Yeah, 5,000 words. That would have taken a day to do, whereas I can get this done in the morning, including all the image adding and stuff like that, and then go from there. So it's streamlining your entire process and making it so much easier. So hopefully, as you went through this course, you've been following along and writing your own article. If you haven't, definitely go back to the start and just follow the process step by step and just go through. You're going to be amazed at how fast, maybe a little bit slow at first because you've never used it, but how much faster and easier it is to write like this using this process. I've basically condensed 10 years of writing and a year of playing with AI into this process to make my life easier when I'm writing content for clients. It's going to make your life so much easier. Thanks again for joining the course, and be sure to leave comments if you have any questions or anything underneath any of the lessons. And speak to you soon. There you have it, my complete process for writing an article with AI that doesn't suck. Like I said in the intro, you can find all the assets mentioned in the video below, as well as 3 of my other paid programs on special offer. If you found this video helpful and you're writing content for your own business or clients, then you're going to absolutely love these. First off, we have my hyper-specific offer system. This will help you turn all your new and old articles into lead-generating machines. So the average email opt-in rate is 2%, but I convert anywhere from 15 to 83% of readers into leads using this method. I taught a client how to do this, and he went from being stuck at 3,000 subscribers for about a year to hitting 10,000 subscribers just a couple of months later. Exact same traffic, he just optimized his old content so that it captured leads better. That course is normally $199, but you can get it right now via the link below for just $24.95. Next is my Get the Click tool. So once you have people on your email list, you need to be able to write emails that get opened, read, and then clicked on, right? But sometimes you're too tired to write anything smart, and so you send an email and no one opens it or clicks through. So it's wasted, or worse, people just unsubscribe. This tool fixes all that by writing your emails with you. It scans the page you're sending into and it asks simple questions to help write the email for you. It's only $5 right now via another link below. Finally, if you want traffic and backlinks like crazy, then you need to check out my Perfect Podcast Pitch program. It's literally the best traffic and sales generation method I've ever used, and it's a completely free process. So all it takes is around 30 minutes to do, so it's perfect if you're a solopreneur and stuck for time, or you just want a better ROI for your marketing efforts. So here's how it works. Basically, you get on people's podcasts as a guest for free, and they send you thousands of visits while also giving you powerful backlinks and helping you make sales. The listener trusts the host, and now they trust you even faster. When I first used this, I went from a domain rank 0 to domain rank 50 in just 90 days, while also making around $100,000 in sales. What was even crazier is the fact that there was a brand new blog with only 3 blog posts and super low traffic. So rather than wait for SEO or pay for ads, I just borrowed other people's audiences, and I'll show you how to do the same. This course is usually $99, but you can get it for just $14.95 right now from the link below.